Hello everyone, today's video will be talking about Action Jackson from 1988. Since recently we lost Carl Weathers, this is very sad. I liked Carl Weathers a lot. He was a good actor from Apollo Creed, Dylan and Predator. As a little tribute, a quote from Predator, "Dylan, you son of a bitch!" Happy Gilmore, and playing a fictional version of himself on the comedy TV show Arrested Development. I almost debated about doing a tribute video on him, but I figure a lot of YouTubers have already done that, and a top 10 like best Carl Weathers movie. This will be a semi-tribute talking about one of his well-known movies that I either liked or disliked, that is, Action Jackson. This is a movie I've heard about before in the past, but I never saw it until recently. Coming from someone who loves 80s and 90s action hero movies, the 80s was like the golden age of action hero movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, Carl Weathers, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and Steven Seagal, where you had big buff dudes on high testosterone, kicking ass, saying cheesy one-liners, and kissing the hot girl at the end of this movie. This movie is still in that golden age of action hero movies at that time, the late 80s, until it died down like the mid to late 90s. I had a conversation with my dad recently, asking if he ever saw this movie before. He told me that he said yes, and he saw this in the movie theaters when it came out. He said it was like Shaft meets James Bond. Also, I remember back in college, I had this math tutor who quoted this movie, and was surprising me that I'd never seen this movie before. I also feel like this came out around the time when Carl Weathers was trying to be his own voice in action hero movies like Arnold and Stallone. Because prior to this, he was a supporting actor. This is him trying to be the lead man. This is a movie Carl Weathers had in mind when he was making Predator at the time. He had to talk with producer Joel Silver about this movie idea, how he wanted to do this movie as a tribute to 70s blaxploitation movies. Action Jackson's first scene and intro was funny. This thug who was arrested was hearing stories about him being a legend, was afraid to meet him. His first line, he mellows out, makes the thug faint. Just like any 80s action hero, he has his funny one-liners. He's friendly, humorous, dedicated policeman, a tough guy. He does not go by the book, but his methods work. He gets the job done, despite a lot of damage and explosions. He can also figure out how to get out of a tough situation by fighting his way out, by kicking some ass. Yeah. Obviously, Action Jackson lives alone. He has no wife or girlfriend, but he has a pet bird. He was married before, but she divorced him a few years ago. It's mentioned in this movie that Jackson was a high school track star, Harvard Law degree. He was also a lieutenant 2 years ago. Jackson does a good job trying to save his friend's life from committing suicide because of what he knows about the bad guy's plans, using his words of wisdom, talking sense and logic, getting information on Stringer. But the guy got shot by one of the bad guys. Jackson lost his old friend from high school track team, and Jackson is very smooth with the ladies. In the past, I've heard of a new Vanity the Singer, but I don't know anything about her as an actress or a singer, what she's done, not knowing what her popularity status was. After watching this movie, hearing her sing, I'm a little curious to know and check out her music. Also, I will say, she was a very beautiful woman, but sadly, she is no longer with us. She passed away in 2016 from kidney failure. Her character's having an affair with Craig T. Nelson's character. She blackmails him, and yet he promised her a singing career album, but he only uses her for sex. He gives her drugs. We don't see it, but after he puts the needle on her leg, my theory is he raped her. Sick bastard son of a bitch. Despite mentioning before I don't know much about Vanity, I did do a little reading and research about her. Apparently in real life, she had a drug addiction problem, so that was no coincidence right there when you think about it. Also, after when Vanity retired as a singer and actress, she became a born-again Christian and did volunteer work for her church most of her life. It was funny when Jackson tries to see Vanity's character asking her questions. Her bodyguard, who weighs 270 pounds, won't allow him to see her. Jackson tries punching him in the face and the stomach, but it does not work. Then he tackles him like a football player and breaks the door down. Then again, Carl Weathers was a football player before becoming an actor in real life. Later in this movie, him and the overweight bodyguard become friends apparently when he saves his life a few more times in this movie. When her and Jackson team up, she's stoned and mellow out of her mind. She's the kind of woman no man's ever treated her well, and she was only used for sex, and she was a junkie, as I've said before. Jackson tells her that he likes women, but not junkies. I'm with Jackson on that one. I'm the same way too. I like women clean, no drugs. If they do drugs, they're out and I'm out too. Her character has regrets and made mistakes in life, but makes up for it when she helps Jackson get out of a jam when he's almost about to be killed by the bad guys. If it was not for Jackson, she would have died in her apartment from the fire explosion. When his wallet was stolen, he thinks that she stole it. She says, "You can teach a thing or two to Mr. T." Well, he helped Rocky and Rocky 3 have a rematch and beat Mr. T up. When Jackson takes Vanity's character to like a safe place, some like apartment building, the boss of the place he's very friendly with, who was like some kind of former middleweight, heavyweight boxer who's funny, happy, jolly, and a quirky guy. Jackson drives her crazy, but he can't resist him. Both Carl Weathers and Vanity were in the music videos of this movie. He Pointed Me Out by the Pointer Sisters. Sharon Stone's character is the fiancée of Craig T. Nelson, his soon-to-be second wife. She is aware of fiancé's plans, but she does not want to believe it. Despite her fiancé's greed, she still loves and knows he's a good person at heart, but honestly, not really. She thinks Jackson and Peter are no different, but honestly, they are different. Jackson does the right thing, whereas Peter's a really bad, corrupt person. She was basically engaged to a monster when you think about it. Spoilers right here. She dies. She gets shot by Craig T. Nelson. He frames Jackson for the crime. She does a good job in this movie, but her character is small. My first thought was the cliche female fatale, but no, that's not the case right here. Craig T. Nelson as Peter Anthony Delaplane does a good job in this movie, playing the stereotypical greedy businessman jerk, doing illegal things behind closed doors. Jackson is right about him. He is a bastard and an asshole in this movie. You all might recognize Craig T. Nelson as the voice of Mr. Incredible. He's not so incredible in this movie. As it turns out, he was married before, and he has a kid from his previous marriage. Spoiler right here, he killed his wife. Jackson and Delaplane knew each other from the past. There's beef and tension between these two. He wins Man of the Year award, but the kind of person he does not deserve that kind of award for how he's very evil, mean, and business corrupt. He knows karate, but won't save him from his crimes, corruption, and avoiding the law. The ending is epic cool. When he and Jackson fight face off, it's like a street fighting alternative version of Apollo Creed. All that karate did not help him beat Jackson. Jackson shoots him, not a big loss. No rematch there. Biff from Back to the Future is in this movie. Thomas F. Wells was big around this time from playing Biff the Bully from Back to the Future, but he plays a small minor character in this movie. He plays a cop who gossips about his sex life to his partner, uses sarcasm on who Action Jackson is, intimidates the thug in a humor way. It was funny when he got kicked in the manhood asking a hooker how much he charges for sex. Bill, who plays the captain of the police department in this movie, he and Carl Weathers were in Predator prior to this, and that's why he got the part to this movie. He plays a stereotypical mean jerk boss. They're not friends, but they do have a mutual respect to a certain degree. He either likes or does not like Jackson's style of work, how he does things differently. He tells Jackson if he does better, he might give Jackson his stripes back, being promoted to lieutenant again. This movie has some die-hard actors that are in this movie, like for example, Argyle, one of Han's side henchmen, Miguel A. Nunez, who's been in a lot of things in this movie. He plays a thug. Billy from Predator is in this movie as a drug dealer, giving Vanity a needle shot, and Jackson breaks the door and kicks his ass, stabs the needle on him, and throws him out the window. Good for you, Jackson. The movie has a cool car chase scene of Jackson running after a taxi driver after it almost killed him and Sharon Stone. When he comes face to face with a thug in the taxi cab, I'm thinking like Batman the Dark Knight the Joker, come on, hit me! But damn, that taxi cab flips over and hits a building. Obviously the guy is dead. Jackson's response is, son of a bitch. After the taxi cab showdown, it's funny when he goes to the police station. His boss asks him about why he's a mess. He lies to him dry cleaning. But of course, his boss was smart to know Jackson was lying. When his boss finds out about the taxi cab showdown, he shouts, "Where the hell is Jackson?" Like Batman, he disappears. When this movie came out, it did not have the best reception. It was not a box office hit. And yet in recent years, it's gained a cult following. They wanted to make a sequel and franchise this movie, but there was never a sequel to this movie due to this movie's poor box office performance. Carl Weathers did a movie called Dangerous Passion in Germany. It was called Action Jackson 2 when it was distributed, but it's unrelated to Action Jackson. That doesn't make any sense. Action Jackson is not a great movie, but it's not as bad as it was. It's a fun action movie, my kind of movie for sure. Just sit back, relax, and watch a big buff dude like Carl Weathers kick ass, say funny one-liners, and kiss the hot chick he gets at the end of this movie. This will definitely be a movie that will be added to my 80s action hero movies collection. It has a good soundtrack to this movie too, also. R.I.P. Carl Weathers, you will be missed. You were fun to watch. You left a great legacy behind. Apollo Creed, action movies like Predator, this movie, Happy Gilmore, Arrested Development. I know he was in the Mandalorian Star Wars show, but I've never seen it. Coming from someone who loves Star Wars, I like the recent Super Bowl commercial he did, Carl Weathers. Rocky 3 to me is still the best sequel. How Apollo Creed goes from being Rocky's enemy to his best friend. That wraps up today's video. See you next time. And once again, rest in peace, Carl Weathers. I will miss you.